I literally have a hot water bottle stuffed down my pants right now. Too much information for you? Hi guys, I'm Shelley and welcome to wrap up and review number 7, possibly? You can really tell I know what I'm doing, can't you? So I'm going to wrap up some books that I read quite a long time ago, so there's a chance I remember absolutely nothing about them. Starting with I Was Here by Gail Forman. I won this in a giveaway and it's signed. It is the story of Meg and Cody, who are going into their first, maybe second year of university. They've been best friends forever. And Cody wakes up one day to find an email from Meg to say that she has unfortunately committed suicide. Cody goes on this sort of adventure journey to try and find out what happened to Meg and what happened in her head. To me, this is a look at the people who are left behind in the suicide, from how it affects family members to best friends to people you've met even just slightly, just the random acquaintances, the kind of ripple effect that any suicide has. There are a lot of pop culture references in this book, which I loved. There's a lot of Buffy references, so that kind of hit me. Obviously, it's a trigger for suicide and mental health because that is looked at in this. It's also a really interesting look at privacy. Does a dead person have a right to privacy? Everything you own, everything you ever done suddenly just becomes open to your friends and your family. There is one thing that puzzles me about this. It's a little rhyme that Meg and Cody have between the two of them that I don't understand. Pete and Repeat go out in a boat. Pete fell out. Who was saved? What? If you know the answer to that riddle and you could explain it to me, please do. But I really liked this book. I really like Gail Forman's writing still, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, or I tried to read Station 11. This comes under one of the things I picked up and dropped, and I really didn't want to drop it, but I have a problem with books that come from multiple different points of view very, very quickly, and I get confused. This is a post-apocalyptic book. There has been a massive flu-like endemic that has wiped out the world, and this comes from the point of view of a young girl who is with a travelling theatre group after the apocalypse, an actor who is famous during the big epidemic and beforehand. I think his wife is writing a comic and it's also her point of view and the comic's point of view. I'm sure it makes sense to a lot of people. I can see how there's a lot of questions put across in this book. I can see how it's probably fantastic, but I would have really liked it if it had just sticked to one timeline. That would have been helpful. But the fact that it jumped timelines and the fact that it jumped people all the time, I just couldn't keep into my head what was going on, and I only gave it 1 star. Next up, I got a book from the library called Trash by Andy Mulligan. This is the story of 3 young kids growing up on a dumpster site in an unnamed third world country. They go through the trash every single day trying to find things worth selling to make a living. They are very, very poor. The book is kind of described as Slumdog Millionaire Junior. You have 3 boys, Rudy, Gardo and Rat. They're picking through the trash one day and Rudy finds something. He finds a wallet, slips it in his pocket because, you know, bunch of money, why wouldn't you? But then the police come to the dump site looking for this wallet. Trouble starts to happen and Rudy and Gardo and Rat have to go on the run. It becomes this massive political conspiracy. It's really well written. Each chapter comes from a different boy's point of view, so each one of their language is completely different. Got a really interesting look at class and hierarchy, because even in the dump site there is a hierarchy of who gets to be at the top and who gets to go through the garbage first and second and third and so on and so forth. Within the boys there are hierarchy. Rat lives kind of at the bottom of the pile, but he's actually the most streetwise and he's the one who kind of is the most savvy because he's had to live on his wits. I really liked this book, I have to say. The whodunit was actually really interesting. I wanted to know. I was kind of, who is this person and what is going on? And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then as a reread, I read The Borrowers. This is a story of tiny little people. You have Ariadne and her mum and her dad, and they are about that big and they live in a house and they borrow things. A young boy who is staying in the house who isn't very well, he spies them. It is the friendship between the boy and the little girl Ariadne, but the fact that these big people that live in the house, same size as you and me are actually scared of the little people, and so it's a lot darker than I remember. It's also interesting because as the mother gets more and more things, as she consumes more, she becomes more and more sort of stuck up and refuses to move, even though they're becoming in more and more danger. I liked the TV series, but yeah, I'm not sure if I like the book. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Then from NetGalley for review, I got an ebook copy of Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. This is the story of Maddie, who is growing up with an illness that means she's allergic to everything. She is basically Bubble Girl. She lives in a sealed house. She is completely cut off from the outside world, and she's sort of okay with that until there's a boy next door. He moves in and suddenly the outside world is kind of thrust upon her. If you put what she is missing right in front of her, she's going to start going a little crazy and she's going to start rebelling. On the other hand, it is a very, very interesting look at mother and daughter relationships, and that's what I took most out of this book. The story between Maddie and her mum. Being a teenager and growing up, and the mother has to let go, and that's not an easy thing to do. There is a little bit of diversity in here because Maddie is half African and half Japanese American. I do have a slight problem with this though, because she's described as the best of both. What's the best of both? She apparently has big eyes, big hair, but a tiny little petite frame. Just because this is what society thinks is beautiful. I'll let it go, I'll get over it. The fact that we have some diversity in her ethnicity is good. We also have this really cool game, which is phonetic Scrabble. I love this. Being dyslexic, this is the perfect kind of Scrabble because I can't spell anything. But if you could write everything phonetically, I do like this book. It's kind of 2 books in one. You have the YA cute story of Maddie and the boy next door, and then you also have the more in-depth look at health and mother and daughter relationships. So I gave Everything 3 out of 5 stars. And that is my wrap up. I'd love to know your thoughts on any of these books, so comment down below. Also, if you know the answer to the riddle in I Was Here, that would be great because it's a brain worm. It is in my brain pan and I don't want to just Google it. That's cheating. Anyway, I hope you guys are good and I will see you guys soon. Bye.